In every world, the wilderness has a voice. For some, it's a whisper from the animals, and for others, it's the calling of the forest itself. Some say the forest is one of the most dangerous places on earth due to its dark secrets and mysteries. However, in some cases, the forests are homes to powerful warriors. Such warriors are Razor, the lonely wolf boy raised by wolves, and Inosuke Hashibara, the wild demon slayer raised by boars. They come from different lands, but they share the same instincts to fight, endure, and protect the ones they care about. Hello everyone, Dusty here, and today I will be putting two animalistic warriors together to see who will come out on top. These characters are Razor from Genshin Impact and Inosuke Hashibara from the Demon Slayer / Kimetsu no Yaiba anime manga. These two have a lot of similarities between each other, so I thought it would be fun to see them go head to head. I will be comparing their stats, such as strength, speed, durability, IQ, experience, and their abilities, to determine which warrior will come out on top. Before we get to that, I need to tell you about their backstories, starting with Razor. When Razor was just an infant, his parents abandoned him in the forests of Wolvendom. That's when a pack of wolves found the poor baby alone in the forest and took him in as one of their own. Razor lived in the wolf pack for his entire life, and as a result, he developed wolf-like attributes like heightened senses. One day, he encountered the Grand Master of the Knights of Avonius, Varka, who gave Razor his name. Then one day, tragedy struck. The Abyss Order attacked him and his wolf pack, and Razor fought hard to protect them. He developed a fierce fury and pure elemental energy, which allowed Razor to unlock his vision, a powerful relic full of electro energy given to him by Celestia. Razor used its power to defeat the Abyss Order members attacking his wolf pack, and after the battle, he developed a powerful will to protect his family, or his Lupical, as he calls it. Inosuke Hashibara was abandoned as a baby, being forced to live in the harsh environment of the mountains. His mother, Kota Hashibara, was fleeing from the powerful upper moon Doma when she was cornered at the edge of a cliff. Out of desperation to save her child, she tossed baby Inosuke off the cliff and into the river. Inosuke survived and was raised by the boars that lived in the mountains. A few years later, Inosuke would join the Demon Slayer Corps after surviving final selection, and he would also meet Tanjiro Kamado and the other members of the Kamaboko Squad. As a member of the Demon Slayer Corps, Inosuke would confront Doma and learned about his past. He learned that Doma had eaten and killed his mother, and this filled him with anger and hatred. He would embark in an intense fight against Doma alongside Kanao, where he would end up victorious. After Muzan and all the demons were defeated, Inosuke was able to live a normal life with his friends and finally got the peace he deserved. Now that you know who these characters are, let's get to the main event. Like I said in the intro, I'll be comparing these character stats to come to the verdict on which animalistic fighter will come out on top. Let's start with the first stat, their strength. Razor is a character that doesn't get as much screen time as other characters in Genshin, like the Archons, the Harbingers, and even Kachina has more screen time than Razor. So he doesn't have many feats to go off physically, but we can dive into the lore where Razor has some pretty solid feats. For starters, Razor was able to defeat an Abyssal Mage. Said mages can be scaled to around large building levels due to being able to create large ice structures. However, Razor is able to fight and train with Andreas, also known as the Wolf of the North. Andreas was able to create and sustain a large blizzard that covered a large majority of Monstat. If you do the math, this blizzard is able to emit island levels of power, and Razor is able to fight relative to Andreas. Razor also has gotten a lot stronger, especially after his training with Lisa. So overall, Razor would scale to around island levels of strength. Inosuke, while not the strongest member of the Demon Slayer Corps, is very strong in his own right. He's able to push large boulders by himself, as well as being able to toss Tanjiro tons of meters high, even higher than the trees of the forests. Inosuke was able to cut the arm off the Spider Father, which even Tanjiro struggled to, which should give Inosuke around large building levels of strength. Inosuke was also able to keep up with Daki, who shares the Upper Moon's 6th spot with Gyutaro, despite, being weaker, and even cut off her head. Inosuke's most impressive feat, however, is when he was able to keep up and parry attacks from a casual Doma who is Upper Moon 2. Overall, Inosuke would be scaled to having town levels of strength. So who's stronger? Well, Razor would take the edge in strength by a decent margin. Razor being able to fight Andreas, who is more impressive than Inosuke being able to fight Doma. And this is also more impressive considering the fact that Doma was just fighting casually and not really being serious the entire time. So Razor takes the edge in strength. Now let's talk about speed. Razor doesn't have many speed feats to go off due to his lack of screen time. However, Razor is capable of outpacing Abyss mages, with such mages being able to outpace the Traveler for a while, which is a subsonic feat at the time, as well as being able to tag D-Luke, which is a supersonic feat due to D-Luke being able to keep up with Fatui soldiers that could keep pace with the Anemo Traveler, which at the time could reach supersonic speeds. So Razor should have around supersonic speeds, and these speeds would also be consistent when factoring in his ability to fight Andreas, who was able to move so fast he created after images just by running. So Razor would have supersonic speeds, although Razor, as a bonus, can boost his attack speeds with his vision. Inosuke is pretty fast and would have consistent hypersonic plus speeds. For starters, he was able to keep up with Daki, who was able to dodge Tengen's bombs exploding basically point blank. He should also be somewhat comparable to characters like Mitsuri, who was able to casually dodge a lightning. However, this feat is kind of inconsistent since Mitsuri also struggled to dodge sound waves, which are a lot slower than lightning. So take that feat with a little grain of salt. However, Inosuke should have around supersonic to hypersonic plus speeds due to his battle against Doma and Daki. So who's faster? While it's close, Inosuke would take the edge in speed. While Razor is no pushover and can definitely close the gap with his vision, allowing him to boost his attack speeds, Inosuke just simply has more impressive feats than Razor does. So Inosuke takes speed. Now let's move on to durability. Razor is able to take blows from creatures such as the Abyss Mages and Andreas. Taking hits from the Abyss Mages isn't really that impressive since they would only scale to around large building levels, but taking blows from Andreas is very impressive. Like I said earlier, Andreas would scale to island levels of strength due to his Blizzard feat. And like I've said a few times now, Razor is able to duel Andreas on somewhat relative and even footing. So Razor would have island levels of durability. Inosuke's durability would scale relative to his strength due to him being able to take blows from Daki and Doma. While obviously weaker, Daki should be relative to Gyutaro, who leveled most of the Entertainment District, which is a town-level feat. Inosuke, like I said, also took hits from Doma, not many, but it's still a good feat. And as a little cherry on top, he was also able to take a blow or two from Muzan, which gives Inosuke town levels of durability. Razor would take the edge in durability, since, well, he takes blows from opponents much stronger than anyone in the Demon Slayer verse. Sure, Inosuke taking blows from Muzan and Doma are impressive, it's just that Andreas is stronger than the both of them combined, and then some. So yeah, Razor takes durability. Now let's move on to the next two stats, IQ and experience. Razor never got educated since he's lived in the forest all of his life, so he's not very book smart. Although he was taught how to speak by Grandmaster Varka, as well as receiving a lot of mentorship from Lisa, he's also been trained in combat for years by Andreas, Lisa, and even Varka, who taught Razor how to use a claymore properly. He also learned how to use the abilities his vision gives him properly. So while he is slightly book smart due to his mentorship with Lisa, he is a very skilled fighter who has a good grasp on what his abilities are. As for experience, he's been training for all of his life by multiple teachers. Like I said, but he's also had to defend his wolf pack from constant Abyssal Order attacks on multiple occasions. Razor is either 15 or 16 years old, considering he's been training for most of his life, this would give him around 15 to 16 years of combat experience. So yeah, Razor's pretty experienced and relatively smart. Inosuke lived away from all of human society for most of his life, and hence never got a proper education. He struggles to pronounce things correctly, doesn't know how to read or write, and usually charges into fights recklessly. However, despite being very dumb when it comes to book smarts, he's extremely battle intelligent. He was able to develop his own breathing style, being one of the only people to do so. Inosuke is also extremely skilled when it comes to actually fighting, due to being trained by the Hashira during the Hashira training arc over the course of a few months, as well as his personal training at the Butterfly Mansion. As for experience, Inosuke has been slaying demons for a decent portion of his life. He survived Final Selection, fought the Spider Father, fought Enmu during the Mugen train arc, fought Daki, fought Doma, and even fought Muzan. So yeah, Inosuke is pretty experienced. So who takes the edge? Well, it's very hard to decide since both of these characters are pretty equal to each other. Razor would take the edge in experience due to having way more formal training, as well as protecting Wolvendom for essentially his whole life. But IQ is a bit harder to decide. While it's close, I'll give the slight edge in IQ to Razor. While Inosuke creating his own breathing style is still a very good feat, Razor just has received a lot more formal education than Inosuke has, especially received mentorship from Lisa, who is an academic scholar and has been stated to be the most intelligent scholar in over 200 years. You can make the argument that Inosuke might take IQ because of how close it is, but I just feel since Razor has had more education, as slight as it is, it would help him get the edge in this stat. Although you can make an argument because that's how close it is. So Razor takes the edge in experience and the slight edge in IQ. Before I come to the verdict on who wins, I need to talk about the last stat, their abilities. Razor gained heightened wolf-like senses such as smell and hearing due to him growing up with the wolves. That's about all the abilities he has at a baseline. However, his vision grants him a lot more abilities. Razor has control over the electro element, and he can create shockwaves, cause lightning strikes, and even create storms by changing the weather. He can even use his vision to increase his attack speed, and even has resistance to electro damage. Razor can also summon a giant wolf spirit to fight alongside him. This spirit amplifies Razor's power, allows him to power through enemy attacks by slightly increasing his durability, and even acts as a second form of damage since it can attack enemies itself. Razor can also absorb leftover electro energy from his attacks and turn it into energy for himself. Razor can also use his electro abilities to decrease his opponent's durability by a small margin, using an ability called Claw and Thunder. It's not a dramatic drop, but it can help in dangerous scenarios. Inosuke has some interesting abilities. For starters, he's unnaturally flexible, being able to wiggle through tight spaces, bend in angles he shouldn't, like being able to put his head in between his legs while standing. He can dislocate his joints for longer reach, and he can even move his internal organs around to avoid fatal blows. Inosuke also has access to beast breathing, which has a lot of benefits. Most of them are just offensive techniques, but his seventh form in particular allows Inosuke to scan his surroundings and detect opponents from miles away. Beast breathing also allows Inosuke to have heightened senses and an unpredictable fighting style. So who wins? Well, with all the factors I have placed on the table, Razor should come out with the win more times than not. This is due to quite a few factors. For starters, he's a lot stronger than Inosuke, scaling to island levels of power over Inosuke's town levels of strength. Also, Razor's durability is also so much higher than Inosuke's maximum attack output that Inosuke can't really hurt Razor in any real way. Sure, Inosuke's faster, but that doesn't matter much if you can't hurt your opponent. There are other factors, such as Inosuke having to fight basically two opponents at once due to Razor's wolf spirit, no way to get over Razor's abilities, etc. Inosuke will definitely give Razor a good fight, but in the end, there's a reason wolves are apex predators and boars are just mere prey. The winner is Razor with low to mid difficulty. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I did. I really did a lot of research and time into this video, and it wasn't the video I was originally going to post, but I'm still happy with the end result. If you disagree with anything I said in this video, make sure to comment down below, and I'll study your input so I can improve my videos. Anyway, this is Dusty signing off. Have a wonderful day.